This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com. This is interesting. This channel covers wrestling, MMA, and UFOs, among other things. This is kind of a crossover topic. Austin Theory, who beat John Cena at last year's WrestleMania in a match that really he didn't get over anymore from, and is now in the tag team division, teaming with a guy named Grayson Walker. Apparently, he has challenged Conor McGregor, who's supposed to be fighting in UFC in I believe July, to a handicap match against him and Grayson Walker, the WWE Tag Team Championships. Austin Theory and Grayson Walker versus Conor McGregor. I did watch the Roadhouse with Conor McGregor, which you can watch my review of it. The link is in the description if you want. He was great in that, and he played a great heel. And for whatever reason, he was looking a lot bigger than he did in a lot of his UFC fights in that video. All I could think about when I was watching Roadhouse is he would be the number one star in wrestling, right up there with The Rock right now. I would say by far The Rock. The Rock is on a different level than everyone else. Conor McGregor is probably the only guy that could get up there. Clearly, if this match were to happen, obviously TKO owns UFC and WWE. It could happen, could very well happen, and it could be used to help promote the McGregor fight, which already has a record gate. It's not sold out yet, but because ticket prices are so high, the gate is massive record. So I would like to see it. I think if Conor McGregor could accept wrestling, like accept to sell for people and stuff, which is hard for some fighter. I don't know if his big ego is an act or not, but it might be hard for fighters with big egos, but he certainly sold in the movie. If the money's right, maybe he will sell. I know there would be some people, certain people that would be probably afraid to work with him. Um, Obviously not The Rock because he would not snap at The Rock, but there'd be lower level guys that might be afraid a little bit because of his reputation. But I think it would be great if he could go into wrestling because he's still the top draw in Ultimate Fighting right now by far. But how many years left does he have, especially after that devastating leg injury? And he would be a massive wrestling star. He's actually the person that could, other than The Rock, which we've seen ratings and interest and attendance fall in WWE after The Rock stopped appearing. He'll be back eventually, but right now he's filming Mark Kerr's MMA Smashing Machine movie. But I do think there's no one that could change the landscape as much as Conor McGregor. Before I get into your comments, I'll say the other news. NXT did a 0.17 rating last night. Bryan Danielson is celebrating his 43rd birthday tonight. Somebody commented earlier that Bryan Danielson's a boring wrestler. I have to admit, I respect him. I think he's a good wrestler as a technician, but I also find him boring. Although I did like his match with Shibata, the best of any of the matches that I saw at the AEW Collision in Ottawa. But there really wasn't any good matches. Brody Lee and Brody King and Lance Archer also had a good one. Those were the only two matches that stand out to me. And then the Brody King one had a terrible finish. It was like a cluster. But yeah, I agree with the guy that Bryan Danielson, although he's very smart, for like the guys like Goldbergs and the Warriors and the Ric Flairs, and I mean, I'd even rather watch a John Cena match than a Bryan Danielson match because John Cena is entertaining to me. But I respect Bryan Danielson. I read his book. I bought his book. I'm proud that I stayed in the same room that he slept in England after when I was there. 'Cause that's what I was told. He also worked for All Star Wrestling UK. TNA, I mean, God bless them. I'm glad they got rid of Scott D'Amore, but apparently they're working on bringing. This is the news of TNA this week, guys. They're working on bringing actor Paul Walter Hauser into TNA. I've never even heard of this guy, and I looked up his picture, and it's just a fat guy. So, God bless him. Good luck. PCO wrestles for him. I like him. They got another guy that used to wrestle for Great North Wrestling there, Mike Bailey, who I might not be the biggest fan of his style, but there's another guy that I have respect for. And his contract is up soon. I would expect that he'll probably sign somewhere else because his name has grown since being in TNA. PP Productions from Ireland. Okay, so this is the best guy to talk to about this. McGregor will end up in WWE. He does too much drugs for legit. I've actually heard that in the other podcast I did with Simon Rochford, also from Ireland. Here's a funny story. If you listen to the podcast I did with this other Irish promoter, the most successful promoter in modern Irish wrestling, I don't know what's going on there now, actually. So maybe I'm speaking out of term there. But Irish Whip Wrestling had Sheamus, Drew McIntyre. I was supposed to be there. Raven, Balls Mahoney, Vampiro. They had a bunch. There's probably something now, so I might be speaking out of term. Sorry if I'm insulting anyone, but I don't follow it. He also said that Conor McGregor got kicked out of a bar there for his antics. Let's just call them antics. And we've all had antics. Well, us crazy people. And here's the funny thing, and I've also dealt with people doing it as a bouncer, doing various antics. Chicanery in bars and causing problems and stuff. Anyways, Conor McGregor actually bought this bar that he was kicked out of. Is that funny or what? He says he can tell me that factually, and it is true. Once you become a star, it's very, very hard to have that same desire to fight because you're a multi-millionaire. You can do whatever you want. You can party. You can be in movies, which is a lot easier than fighting. You could be in WWE, which is a lot easier than fighting. And even though the fighting part might be fun, you got to train and get hit in the head in training every day and do ridiculous amounts of cardio. Wrestling, although it's tough on the body, and who knows how seriously he would take it as far as how much risk. The risk can be controlled, and the amount of effort as far as cardio you obviously need a good amount to be able to put on a passable match, but it's not MMA level cardio where you got to go 5 minute rounds full out or get knocked out or submitted. You can pace yourself, you can take rests in wrestling. It still is hard taking bumps and everything and trying to play a character and having to go sometimes long periods of time. I think one of my longest ones was 35 minutes. I did go an hour once in practice, but I never been an hour in front of a crowd. Anyways, just to say wrestling is easier than fighting and he could really get over. I don't think McGregor would be like Ronda Rousey. I think McGregor would get crazy over in wrestling. I would like to see it. May 25th, Saudi Arabia. I think that's the pay-per-view this weekend. Yeah, they're coming in for SmackDown and the pay-per-view this weekend.